Imagine you wake up one day, covered in these blotches on your skin, your hair has fallen out, your heart has stopped beating. And then you find yourself being tossed into this mysterious dead city where everybody is dead but cannot die. Every scrape, every injury, every pain you've ever have inflicted upon you from that point forward remains forever, never healing. Just this constant, ongoing agony, never to end, with you for eternity. It's utter torture. Stay tuned, that's coming right up here on Drew's Book Reviews. Good day, and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Today we are going to be talking about Brandon Sanderson's Elantris. This is one of the earlier works of Brandon Sanderson, one of his first ever books ever published, and we're going to talk about it. Today's book review is the Viewer's Choice book review from my October to be read. So let's talk about Elantris. Now, if you know me and this channel, you know I am a huge Brandon Sanderson fan. I absolutely love his books. This was actually a reread for me, but before we get into that, make sure that you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, check out my Discord, that'll be linked below. You can also find me over on Bookstagram, I'll have that link below as well. And you can even join me over on Hardcover. That is the new social network for book nerds like me. So check that out, I'll have Hardcover linked below as well. So let's talk about Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. So as mentioned, this is one of the first books that Sanderson ever wrote. Now this is one of the books that does take place in the greater cosmere. If you know about Sanderson, then you know about his cosmere. There are several books that take place in the cosmere: Elantris, Warbreaker, White Sands, Stormlight Archive, Mistborn. All these are cosmere novels and take place in a greater cosmere universe. Cosmere could be a whole different video, which maybe I should do at some point, talking about the different worlds. Anyway, but let's focus today on Elantris specifically. Being an earlier work of Sanderson's, as many have noted, it's not as well developed as his other stories, which for me is not a drawback. This book really is effectively a standalone at this point, though as I understand, Sanderson is rumored at least to be writing or will eventually write another book in the Elantris world. And honestly, I really hope that he does, because this is such a good book. Many people don't like this book, particularly in the greater cosmere. So there seems to be a love-hate with it. I've seen some people really not like it. But for myself and many others, it is a very good book overall. And I think primarily that stems from the fact that the magic system itself, as noted by other reviews, isn't nearly as developed as his other works. But that is just fine with me. I am okay with that. I do like the whole concept behind this book, where there's this city called Elantris, which was like the city of the gods. This city was imbued with these people who were effectively godlike and had these crazy magical powers, and they could heal anything, they could do anything, and they could create food, they could create wealth and prosperity, and people were happy living under them until one day this curse hit, and nobody really knows what happened or why this happened, but a curse hit, and suddenly these people were cursed. They basically became a city of undead zombies, effectively, where they could not die but were dead. Their hearts ceased to beat, their hair fell out, their skin was covered in these splotches, and they were unable to really live, and they were cursed and relegated to the city of Elantris. Those who were not affected by this curse eventually just kind of collected in the city around Elantris, but not in Elantris itself, and anybody who becomes an Elantrin is thrown into the city to live with the rest of the decrepit souls that are there. So it really is this kind of zombie apocalypse type setting, which is really actually kind of a cool setting. And to be honest, maybe that was a good read for October as well, being spooky month. But that is essentially the setting and the story behind this whole city of Elantris. But we also have within this book conflict between different religious groups, where you have one religious group who is looking to destroy Elantris and finally conquer it and eradicate it forever, believing that it is cursed and damned and evil. And then you got this other smaller group within the kingdom where Elantris is, working to prevent this from happening. And one of our key characters, Prince Raoden. Now, this is not a spoiler. This happens right at the beginning of the book, so this is not a spoiler. He finds himself inflicted with the curse of the Elantrins, and finds himself thrown into the city of Elantris, where he has to make do with this new kind of sort of life that he finds himself living. And so he is working within the city of Elantris to really bring life back to Elantris, while the people outside of Elantris are fighting the religious war. One of our key characters in this book is Princess Serene. She's been sent from Teod to wed Prince Raoden of Erelon. That is the kingdom that Elantris is in, but only to find out that she's effectively a widow before she even arrives. She effectively takes over Raoden's work in the kingdom of Erelon. Meanwhile, Hrathen is there. He is one of the priests of this religion that is looking to conquer and destroy the world and rid the world of Elantris and its evil curse. He is in Erelon looking to overthrow the city or convert them, lest everybody die, as his religious army, or the army of his church and religion, will come through and destroy the kingdom. So we've got all these aspects within the book fighting and coming to a final conflict at the end. And they say Sanderlands for a reason. Like, it just all comes to a head at the end of this book. And it was so well done, and I really enjoyed that. One of the aspects I really enjoyed about this book as well is the concept of Hrathen being the priest of this religion, a high priest of Fordel, who finds himself questioning the very religion in which he was raised and was committed to his entire life, and having him start to realize and question what he has been taught and how it all works. I love kind of seeing that aspect and that flow within this book as well. So let's talk a little bit about the magic system of Elantris and what it's composed of. So definitely it's not as in-depth or complicated. For Sanderson, I would call it a soft magic system rather than a hard magic system. This magic system is basically on this concept of aeons. So these magical drawings in the air of different characters that release the door, which is, so door, D-O-R, which is the power behind the magic in this world. And the releasing of that door allows these magical things to happen. That's basically the concept of it. I didn't find there was much more developed in that other than that basic concept, but still was really well done within this book, and I really enjoyed how it all came together. One of the interesting things about this book in this world is one of the unique creatures that we find within this world. Now, Sanderson definitely has a lot of different unique type of different life within his worlds of intelligent life, where versus just having the human intelligent life in this book, it is these Seons. They're basically these glowing balls of light that effectively are intelligent servants of those who could afford to have them. They bond with certain individuals and spend their entire life in service to them, but they live centuries long, and they're so bonded to their masters that when their master becomes effectively a Elantrin, they will go crazy and basically die like their masters in the city of Elantris. Where these Seons come from, how they came to be, nobody really knows, but it is thought that they are part of the Elantris before Elantris was cursed. But I really kind of like the Seon aspect of it. It's kind of a unique little companion that we see within this world that Brandon Sanderson has created. I personally would love to have a book or read more in this world myself, so I really do hope that Sanderson actually does write more in this world, because it is just such a unique setting and interesting setting. Unlike other Sanderson books, however, this particular story takes place in a very small area of the world in which it's set on. So we don't really see a lot or hear a lot about, we hear about other places within this world, but there really isn't much that takes place in those other areas of the world. It is very focused on Erelon, and specifically right in the general vicinity of the city of Elantris itself. We don't see a lot of adventure, action, or storytelling outside of that. So it is definitely more highly focused novel. So definitely, if you're someone who likes having a more focused story in one particular region, a more simplified story, especially for Sanderson, it is definitely a simpler story relative or compared to his other books. So if you are looking for that within a book, and a fantasy book specifically, and especially one that can be done as a standalone as opposed to these larger tomes or epic series that we see so often within fantasy, then definitely Elantris is a book that you should pick up. And I think it's actually a pretty good introduction to Brandon Sanderson's writing as a whole. simply because it is that simpler story that kind of gives you a sneak peek into a greater world, but without getting into that large epic tomes. So if you have not read Sanderson yet, I would definitely say that Elantris is a great place to start with Brandon Sanderson. And overall, this was just a really enjoyable read, and I really liked Elantris, and I really hope that Sanderson does write more in this world. So those are my thoughts on Brandon Sanderson's Elantris. Let me know what you thought down below. Have you read this book? Are you interested in reading this book? Have you read any Sanderson? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, you could also follow me on Bookstagram. Join me over on the Discord as well. That'll all be linked below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye!